You ever see a massive scandal break and just wonder, how do the rich and powerful always seem to walk away from things that would absolutely wreck the rest of us? It really feels like they're playing a totally different game, right? Well, welcome to my channel. Today we're getting our hands on their secret playbook.
So what's the secret sauce? Is it really just about having tons of money and powerful friends, or is there an actual strategy, a step-by-step playbook they use to weather the storm and come out the other side with their reputations intact? That's the big question we're digging into today.
We are going to pull back the curtain and look at the real behind-the-scenes tactics used by people like Jeffrey Epstein, Prince Andrew, and Woody Allen to see exactly how these crises get managed. So if you're ready to see past the headlines, you're in the right place. And hey, if you like what you see, make sure to like, share, and subscribe so you don't miss what's next.
All right, here's our game plan. We're going to start with the secret PR moves that happen way before a story even goes public. Then we'll jump over to the legal battlefield and see how the justice system can become a strategic tool. After that, we'll dive into the wild world of public opinion. And finally, we'll wrap up with why any of this stuff actually matters to you and me. First things first, the behind-the-scenes strategy. Long before you ever see a statement on the news, the real work is happening behind closed doors. This is all about getting control of the story before anyone else does.
And you know what? We actually have an incredibly rare, totally unfiltered look at how this works, all thanks to some leaked texts between Jeffrey Epstein and political strategist Steve Bannon. These messages are a goldmine, showing us in real time how a high-stakes defense gets built from the ground up.
So check this out. Playbook move number 1, reframe the entire problem. When Epstein is getting a lot of heat, Bannon doesn't ask, "What did you do?" He immediately calls it a sophisticated op. This is a classic move. It flips the script from being about your actions to being about a conspiracy against you.
And what's fascinating here is just how strategic it all is. This isn't some panicked reaction. Epstein is calmly weighing his options like a chess master. Should I ignore it? Should I attack? He even admits this stuff is not my skill set, which is exactly why he's bringing in a pro like Bannon.
And Bannon's advice? It's straight out of Crisis PR 101. He tells him that directly responding to the accusations will only make things way worse. You see, the goal is to starve the fire of oxygen, not pour a giant can of gasoline all over it.
But just ignoring it isn't enough. The other, more aggressive part of the strategy is to build a whole new story, a counter-narrative. Bannon basically says, look, we can't save the monster they've created in the media, so we have to show them you're not a monster at all. The big idea? A professional film to humanize him and completely change the public's mind.
And this right here shows the massive difference between a well-planned strategy and a complete and total disaster. On one hand, you have Epstein and Bannon carefully plotting a whole film, and on the other, you have Prince Andrew, who gave us a masterclass in what not to do. His BBC interview was beyond a car crash. His bizarre claims about not being able to sweat and his alibi about a Pizza Express just became global jokes and torched his credibility.
Okay, so that's the PR side. Now let's move on to the next arena, the legal battlefield. Once the story is being managed, the fight usually heads to the courts. But you're about to see, it's not always about proving you're innocent. Sometimes it's about using the law itself as a shield. So real quick, to get what's about to happen, we need to know what a deposition is. It's not a trial, but think of it like a super serious high-stakes interview where lawyers get to grill you for hours. And every single word is recorded while you're under oath. It's where they try to poke holes in your story long before a jury ever hears it.
And a deposition is exactly what Prince Andrew was staring down the barrel of. He was scheduled to sit for one, but right before it was supposed to happen, boom, he settled the case. Now, why would he do that? Simple. A deposition would have locked him into a story under oath. If he said anything different from what he said in that train wreck of an interview, it would have been a legal nightmare. Settling was his escape hatch.
So you might be wondering, what's so scary about a civil case? Well, it all comes down to the standard of proof. In a criminal case, a prosecutor has to prove you're guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. That's a really high bar, like 99% sure. But in a civil case, it's just a preponderance of the evidence. All the jury has to decide is if it's more likely than not that you did it. That is a way lower bar to clear and a much bigger risk.
Now, there's another way to use the law as a shield. The incredibly long and complicated Woody Allen case is a perfect example. It shows how you can have multiple official investigations that end with no criminal charges, but that doesn't quiet the debate. In fact, those legal results become the main weapon in your public defense. So let's just break this down. Back in 1993, there were 3 different investigations. The state's attorney didn't press charges, a clinic at Yale New Haven concluded that abuse did not happen, and the Department of Social Services found no credible evidence. Now, for Allen's supporters, this is it. Case closed, he's innocent. But for his critics, this just shows a broken system. Either way, for decades, these legal findings have been the absolute cornerstone of his entire public defense.
And that is the perfect lead-in to our third and final battleground, the court of public opinion. Because let's be real, winning in a courtroom doesn't mean you've won over the public. For many, this is the fight that matters most.
We've talked about Prince Andrew's interview, but I mean, just listen to this quote. A car crash, followed by a train wreck, and then by an explosion. It wasn't just a bad interview, it was a complete nuclear meltdown of his reputation. He went on TV to clear his name and ended up doing the exact opposite. A total catastrophic loss.
The Woody Allen case, though, is a totally different beast. It hasn't been one big explosion. It's more like a long, slow-burning war for public sympathy that has dragged on for decades, splitting families, journalists, and Hollywood right down the middle. And that long war got a major jolt of energy with the rise of the hashtag #MeToo movement. In 2017, Dylan Farrow wrote an op-ed asking this really powerful question, which put a massive spotlight back on these decades-old allegations and forced a whole new generation to look at the case. And you can see that divide clear as day right in Hollywood. On one side, you have this growing list of stars who now say they regret working with him. But on the other, you have plenty of big names who still stand by him, usually pointing back to those original investigations. It just goes to show you that in the court of public opinion, the jury can stay out forever.
Okay, so after all of that, let's bring it all home. Why does understanding this playbook actually matter to you?
When you really boil it down, the scandal survival playbook has 3 main moves. Step 1, control the story before it controls you. Frame it as an attack. Step 2, use the legal system to your advantage. Avoid testifying and get those official not guilty stamps. And step 3, fight the long war to win over the public, because that's where your legacy is truly decided. And look, knowing these moves isn't just interesting trivia. It's basically a superpower for media literacy. It helps you read between the lines, to question why a settlement happened right before a deposition, and to realize that the stories you see are often the end result of a long, expensive, and carefully planned campaign. It helps you see past the smoke and mirrors. All of which leaves us with one last really big question. When people with tons of power, money, and influence can literally build their own reality and shape the story, how are the rest of us supposed to find the actual truth? Honestly, there's no easy answer here, and that's why I really want to hear what you think. Do you think it's even possible to get to the truth when narratives are managed this heavily? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read everything you guys write, and it genuinely helps make my channel better. Thanks for watching.